Welcome to CEO Check-In. I'm starting a little bit after 12 today. Turns out I was going live on our other account and Million Dollar Women Summit. Whoops. Thank you, Rabia, for letting me know. I'm over here now. Hi, B. And I was wondering where everybody was. So yes, last night was the presidential debate. I don't know how many of you watched, but it was not the highest level of democracy that we've ever seen in our country. My 12-year-old just interviewed me the other day about what is democracy, which was an interesting question to ponder. And I don't know that we had the highest example of democracy last night, but it was a great reminder that we have to vote, we have to get out the vote. And at the same time, I was watching the Ruth Bader Ginsburg documentary, which is amazing and was so inspiring. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. What a difference this one 5-foot Jewish woman was able to make in her lifetime. She was an introvert, she was understated, but she was just so smart and so relentless and also really clever about getting other justices on board. With some of her important agenda that changed all of our lives forever around issues including healthcare, parental leave, equal opportunity. So, please help celebrate her life by watching the documentary. Oh, and Kate Erickson is with us. Fantastic. So I'm so delighted to have Kate on. She is a marketing expert and one of the brilliant minds behind EO Fire podcast. And I'm so excited to have you with us today. Let me just bring you right on so we can about marketing. And I'll do my go big tip after. I always do a go big tip, but I'm going to do it at the end. Hey, Kate, great to see you.
Hi, Julia. So good to see you. Thanks so much for inviting me on.
I was thrilled you could be with us. Maybe you could just spend a minute introducing yourself to our community. We have some women who are on here who may ask questions during our live, and then a lot of people who watch it later.
Awesome.
We have a lot of women with kids in our community dealing with homeschooling and all that.
Ooh.
Right? So not everybody shows up live, but I know everyone's really excited to hear from you and would love you to just introduce yourself and then we'll dive in and talk about marketing.
Awesome, for sure. So my name's Kate Erickson. I work with my significant other, John Lee Dumas, on a business called Entrepreneurs on Fire. And we just celebrated our 8-year anniversary in the business, actually. Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Super exciting. Gosh, time flies when you're having an amazing time and meeting incredible people and doing awesome things. So we're just so grateful for the business that we've built. It started out as a daily podcast, and John interviewed 2,000 entrepreneurs daily for 2,000 episodes. And now we're doing like 3 to 4 times a week. And yeah, we're just still having an amazing time doing it, speaking and meeting with incredible entrepreneurs. And then through the podcast, we've built an audience and been able to create online courses and masterminds and create a ton of other just support and impact for people who are looking to start their own business.
I know, I'm really excited to dig into all that with you. But first, big thank you to you guys because I was one of those guests on your 2000 interviews back when I was a little Pim. So thank you for having me on. And awesome. I was so happy to see you show up on that $1 Million Marketing panel that we were both on a couple weeks ago.
So much fun. I loved that so much. It was really awesome to connect with you again that way.
You too, and you had so many brilliant things to say. I was like, I gotta bring her in so everybody can learn from Kate.
Thank you for that.
Not to put you on the spot, but no, I'd love to hear a little bit what you guys are seeing in your community, because here in the $1 Million Women community, we're seeing a lot of people really try to ramp up their funnels, really, turn their social media into something that converts better. Are you seeing a couple of themes in your community as well?
Definitely kind of. It's funny because when we first started the podcast and we were interviewing people, we found that because John asked the same interview questions to every single interviewer for the first 2,000 episodes. And one of those questions was, what was like your aha moment or your pivot point? And we found it such a common answer that people would say, I was pregnant with my first child, or my wife was pregnant with our first child. And it was like, now or never, like go time. So that was kind of like a recurring theme that we saw a lot. And so we started calling it the baby effect. Like, you're about to have a baby, you're either going to make this work, or like, actually you have to make this work, because it's you starting your own business and making it happen, or you going back to corporate. And of course, our audience is filled with people who want to make this work and start their own
That's
business.
right, and want that freedom, right? Which you don't get in corporate.
Exactly. And we're kind of seeing that right now. You know, it's a big pivot point for people right now.
So it feels similar to you right now, with people saying, what's it sounding like when they express it? What do they say?
You know, a lot of people have unfortunately lost their jobs, but it's put them in a position to now where they're like, oh, wow, maybe now is the time that I make this happen. Or, you know, I just feel like people are kind of up against the wall in a way that they haven't been before. You know, finding new ways to create revenue, to support themselves and their families. I think a lot of people are seeing this as an opportunity to where, you know, the online world is fantastic and amazing in so many different ways. And I think people are waking up to that, to where like maybe before it wasn't because they had something else, and maybe now they don't have something else.
Or
so
they said,
now,
that's the thing I'll get to. We had a lot of women in our community who are like, oh yeah, at some point I'm going to build out my online presence. I'm going to do that whole funnel thing.
100%,
right?
100%.
And now it's now.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I think it's really exciting because I know for me, it absolutely required that moment in time where it was like, you've got to do this. And sometimes we need that push. And
what was that moment for you, Kate? Can I ask what was it also a big aha moment?
It was. I was working a corporate job I had been in for 3.5 years. And I was like, I was in an administrative position, kind of like the bottom position in the office that I was in. And for 3.5 years, I'm just like waiting for that promotion. And it just wasn't coming. And finally, my manager told me, you know, there's a position available. It'd be a huge upgrade for you. Like, the opportunity is there. She told me I had it in the bag. I did the interview as a formality, like all of this stuff. And then it came time for that phone call where I thought I was going to get this promotion, and they hired outside the company for it.
Oh, ouch.
And so that was like, that was my moment.
I'm sure that day you thought, this is the worst thing ever. And I bet you look back now and say, well, wait, actually, that was the best thing ever.
Best thing. And that's why, you know, it's tough to see it in that moment in time. But so many times I've heard, you know, of course, losing your job or having something like that happen can feel like very devastating. But that was the pivot point in my life where I was like, there's got to be something else for me, and I'm going to go figure out what it is.
Were you already with John, or where were you in your journey at that point?
I was not with John yet. No. We knew each other. We were actually neighbors. We met as neighbors. And so we knew each other, but he hadn't started the business yet. We weren't together yet. But within like 2 or 3 months of that happening, we got together. He ended up moving cross country from San Diego to Maine, and I moved out with him. And within like 6 months of that move, he had the idea for Entrepreneurs on Fire. He quit his job. I stayed at mine, and he started the business. And then about 4 months later, I quit my job and joined the team.
Oh my God, I love that story so much. Not only because, you know, you guys built this beautiful life together and a business, but we also have a lot of couples in our community who run businesses together. And I know how much this will resonate with them. But so good for you, because it's not like you had some great place to land, or it's not like, oh, well, my boyfriend is a venture capitalist, it'll all be fine.
No. I spent 6 months creating a budget for myself. I stayed at that job for 6 more months after the day that happened, that I lost that promotion. And 6 months later, I quit that job, and I had no clue what I was doing. I tried to actually start my own business at that point in time.
What was the business in, Kate?
So it was trying to help brick and mortar businesses bring their business online for more visibility.
Oh, cool. We need that right now.
I know. I know.
but you then created this amazing digital business with John. So you use those skills there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that first venture, I did that for 6 months. I never got one client. I never made $1 with that business. but it was the most growth in the shortest period of time I've ever experienced. The lessons that I learned from just like putting myself out there and going for it have now set the foundation for what I've been able to create with John. So it was a massive learning, massive learning experience.
I love that. Yeah. And when you study mindset, which I know you have and I have,
Yeah.
right, you try to see all failure as just information, right? Even if in the moment it doesn't feel that way, but you got all this great information. Funny enough, you reminded me of like my big failure story, or one of, I've had a lot of failures, but the one I shared in my book, $1 Million Women, where when I was 26, I created this company to connect screenwriters in LA with directors in Europe. And it was called Script Source USA. And that's not the worst part, Kate. The worst part is that it was going to be like a printed binder, like a printed book. This is pre-internet. And then I thought, well, you know what? It'll go out of date, so we can fax people the new pages when we need to update it. Like, ridiculous. Sunk all this money into it, put all this time into this business, flew to LA and lived there for a summer and went to CAA and William Morris and pitched the idea in my little rented tin can car, right? So this thing fell so flat on its face. I lost $5,000, which was all my money in the world right then. And you know what? It's the best thing that ever happened to me in retrospect. Just like you, it's the lessons learned of oh, people will take you seriously. You can actually go out and get meetings with people, right? And that my friends and family still loved me, even though my business failed. That was an important one for me, because I kind of had the merged personal and professional identities and a million other things not worth getting into. But, right, it's those moments wind up being actually some of the best things you ever learned.
Yeah. And it's just so full circle, right? Because so many people are in kind of a position right now where it's it feels like such a struggle, but I can promise you, if you get through this, it will be some of the most amazing learning experience you've ever had.
That's right. People are doing things and experiencing things right now that they'll look back on later as I'm actually really glad that happened, even if it doesn't feel like that right now. So that's you listening, going I don't know that I'm going to be glad about this. Kate and I think you will.
Yes. You'll learn so much. I want
to make sure everyone can learn from you about, your marketing wisdom, because you are just an amazing marketer. Help people understand the empire a little bit first too, because, when you say, oh, we have this podcast, Entrepreneurs on Fire. I mean, it's one of the most popular podcasts for entrepreneurs. I gleaned so much from it when I was building my first business, Little Pin. So thank you. And I'm sure people listening today love it. And if you don't know it, go check it out. But then what did that evolve into? You mentioned it really quickly earlier, but let's just go deeper on what is in your universe that'll inspire a lot of people, I think.
Okay, for sure. So I kind of want to start back at the beginning, because when we talk about it today, I think to a lot of people, it can feel oh my gosh, how did you create all of that stuff and make all of that stuff work?
Right.
This is how we did it.
Okay, we're going to rewind. Okay.
Rewind.
Let's just say it's a multi-million-dollar business.
Yes.
That you guys run in a virtual way. And this is $1 Million Women, right? So everyone who's tuning in wants that multi-million-dollar business. So listen up, people. Kate's
Okay, so today, yes, we net over $100,000 every single month in revenue generated from multiple different income streams. So just setting the tone for where we're at right now. But going back to the beginning, it started as a podcast, a daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs, right? John did that consistently. Every single day, dropped an interview with a new entrepreneur to inspire those who were tuning in to be able to have the confidence and the knowledge to create their own businesses. So about maybe 4 months in, a lot of his listeners started reaching out, and they were saying, John, I want to do this. It's so inspiring. Thank you. I love it. I want to start my own business, but I feel so alone. I feel like I'm on an island. My family doesn't get it. I don't really have any friends who are entrepreneurs. So I just feel very alone on this journey. And he heard that enough times that he thought, oh, well, why don't I create a mastermind, a platform, a place for all these people who are telling me that they feel alone to come together so we can support each other. I can kind of provide guidance in that mastermind. They'll be able to meet with each other and have each other for support. So we launched a mastermind. We called it Fire Nation Elite because we refer to our audience as Fire Nation. So we created Fire Nation Elite, this mastermind that people would pay for on a monthly basis to be a part of. And that was our first ever
I
product
love
or
it. What did you
service or
charge way
offering.
back in the beginning? Do you remember?
So when we first started, I believe we did $197 a quarter. And then we got up to, I think by the time we ran that mastermind for 2 years, and I think at the end we were doing $597 a quarter.
Oh, so that's a big jump. Yes.
Yeah.
And wait, I just have to ask, what are we looking at? This beautiful view. Where are we?
I'm in Pacific Beach, San Diego.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's beautiful. And I'm so happy you got the good weather back. Yay. Enjoy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the first ever thing we offered. We didn't try and launch that and 4 other things at the same time. We saw the vision for the mastermind. We launched the mastermind. After the mastermind was up and running and we had systems in place to help us run that on a consistent basis, right? Like we knew that our webinars were going to be every single Wednesday at 12 p.m. Just Julie, do a beautiful job. You have your lives at a specific day and a specific time. People know when to come and join you.
And like I know when to show up.
Exactly.
Yeah, we see sometimes people like, oh, I'll do some lives, but if you don't put it in your calendar, right, it doesn't happen.
Not going to happen.
No. Okay, so then what happened?
Exactly. So we had it all systematized, and then so everything's running great, right? Then people start reaching out to John and they say, John, you have this podcast and you've built this audience and you're generating revenue. Like, how did you do that? I want a podcast. And he got enough people that said that he said, I'm going to create an online course that helps people learn how to create, grow, and monetize their own podcast. So 6 months, trying to get my timing right, about 6 months or 8 months after we launched the mastermind, we generated this idea for the podcasting course. We decided.
And can I just ask Kate, like, is this like 5 years ago, 6 years ago? Because now everybody's got an online course, but I have a feeling
right.
you guys were kind of early on that.
This was 2013.
Okay,
So 7 years ago. Yeah.
That's what I thought. You guys were ahead of the curve. And I was right behind you because I created my whole online universe a couple of years later.
Awesome.
So yeah, now we're like the dinosaurs of this, right?
Yeah. I know people always ask how long have you, because we host our courses on Thinkific, and they're like, but what'd you use before that? I'm like, you don't even want to know.
I know, I'm always like dental floss and gummy bears. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, for masterclass, the first masterclass I think was like Dropbox and Gmail, literally.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, starting a business now is so different than even just, and that's kind of crazy, right? Because it really wasn't that long ago, but
I know,
man.
but so much has changed. And this is gold, what you're sharing, because just to give you some insight, I'm probably in, 10 conversations a week with women. We have thousands of women in our community, but we have, a few hundred in our inner circle who we're coaching. And a lot of them are building these courses for the first time. And I love how you shared that you built what your customers asked for, right? And that is a key principle that we're always teaching in the $1 Million Women community. Don't go making stuff up. Like, your customers will tell you what they
100%.
want, right? And so you guys did exactly that. And I'm sure you then iterated, right? You probably had a way of figuring out what do they like? What do they not like? How do we tweak it?
Yeah, so we even took it to the next level with Podcaster's Paradise, which is what we called this podcasting course. And we did a proof of concept webinar. So we did not build anything. We did not create anything. We didn't buy any software, nothing. We literally got everybody together who told us they were interested in podcasting. And we had like a very small podcasting list. We ran a proof of concept webinar. We told people like, hey, you guys have come to us. You've asked about podcasting. We want to teach you, but we haven't built anything. We have this idea to create video tutorials. We'll walk you through all the steps. We'll have, a Facebook group, a community. We'll all support each other. If you guys think that sounds like something that you want, then you can get an early bird lifetime membership today on this webinar.
Oh, cool.
And we said, if we get 50 people to join, then we'll create it.
And how many did you have?
We had about 100 people join on that webinar.
Oh my God, I love that. That's so awesome. And the funny thing is, Kate, I think a lot of people think, well, I can't launch this before it's perfect, right? Or done. When in fact, I think people like being in on stuff before it's done, right? Like, there's so much stuff out there that's like perfect and all the bells and whistles. Like, it's kind of fun to be the early adopter. right?
Well, and what was so great about it too is right back to like your audience giving you the ideas and telling you exactly what they want. Like we built this community in this course with our members. They
I
had
love
such a
that.
strong part of like, we asked them, what are your biggest questions on podcasting? And all of
Yeah.
those questions became the video tutorials that we created.
I
So
love it.
it was
That's
kind of
awesome. And
like
did you survey them as well? Like in the early days of Masterclass in the bubble gum and gummy bear dental floss days, um, I used to send a survey once a week. Like, what did you like about this week's class? What didn't you like? And if anyone rated me below an 8 out of 10, I got on the phone with them. Like, what was it?
I
What didn't you
love
like?
that.
How do we fix it? How did you guys do it? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so we would do weekly live webinars, and that's when we would welcome like new members into the community, and we'd kind of just have like an open conversation. So we would ask people, you know, like, what are your biggest questions? And that's how we would fill in the gaps too for like maybe video tutorials that we hadn't thought of, or
Awesome.
resources that we hadn't thought of. Like so many ideas came from these calls. Like we now have like email templates and document samples and all of this stuff. But like John and I probably never would have thought to create any of that. Our members are the ones that asked us for it. So
That's a
yeah, we
great,
would do
great
weekly
reminder
live
that
calls.
you should just ask, ask our customers what they want, whether it's through a
Yeah.
survey or live asking them. And by the way, if you're watching right now and you have a question for Kate, who is the co-creator of Entrepreneurs on Fire, please just put it in the comments and I'll make sure that we ask her the question. So you're telling us the story of building this empire. I am going to ask us to get to the part where you talk about funnels and whatnot, because I know that's a
Yeah.
huge question in my community. So we want to hear the end, and then let's move over to funnels.
Okay, so well, it'll integrate in. We'll bring it
Great.
in.
Super.
Okay,
Thanks.
so we launch Podcasters Paradise. We get all the systems down. We create everything that we're going to do. We started running weekly live webinars to join to welcome more members into Podcasters Paradise, and then we eventually ended up launching three other like courses, products, services, kind of like the mastermind, like Podcasters Paradise. We created a community for webinars. We launched another mastermind eventually.
All
and
virtual,
we've launched
right? When you're saying mastermind, this is all virtual.
all virtual. We have hosted 3 in-person, just like 2-day masterminds, but they don't come along with like an ongoing course or anything. They're just like events, more
One
like
off, cool, awesome.
one off. Yeah. Okay. So once we launch these things and we have the systems going for them, we would create funnels to help us continue to welcome members into them. So we launched Podcasters Paradise back in October of 2013. It's still a fully functioning, amazing community that John and I are part of every single day today.
Oh,
And
people who are just joining us, remind them what you teach in that online course, because
yeah,
maybe people watching who need it right now.
yeah, absolutely. So Podcasters Paradise is how to create, grow, and monetize your podcast. We have video tutorials. We have a community of incredible people. We have almost 4,000 members in the community now.
Love that. And
So
I think I shared when you and I were on that marketing panel that I had a podcast for over a year. We just paused it during coronavirus, and I'm now doing this $1 Million Mind. All the episodes are still available on my blog, but boy, it's a lot of work, right? I had to figure so much out along the way. So that's awesome that you're doing that. It's not just about pressing record and like asking some cool questions. There's so much that has to go into it. So thanks for providing that to entrepreneurs who want to do their own podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So we realized quickly, of course, like to continue to bring people into the community, we needed to get a funnel in place, right? A way to welcome people into our world, first of all, let them get to know, like, and trust us through providing free value and taking them on a journey to end in Podcasters Paradise. So what we did is we started with the end in mind. If our goal is to welcome people to Podcasters Paradise, what gaps do we have to fill in for somebody who has no idea who John and Kate are, or Entrepreneurs on Fire, or any of that? So we decided to create a free podcast course. It's an 8-video course, completely free, that teaches you how to create and launch your podcast. So you opt in, you get on a list, you get 8 free, completely free video tutorials. You get to know myself and John. You get to start to trust us because of the value we're providing you, and we're asking nothing in return. If you take free podcast course and you create and launch your podcast, awesome. But we knew that a certain number of those people who joined free podcast course, once they create and launch their podcast, what do people want to know next? They want to know how to grow and monetize. So we created a podcast masterclass, also completely free. It's about 1 hour long. And John talks about the 5 ways to grow a podcast, top 5 ways to grow a podcast, and top 5 ways to monetize a podcast. So after free podcast course, we would invite them to join us on the free podcast masterclass. On the masterclass, after we go through all that content, we introduce Podcasters Paradise. We say, hey, you can totally take all this information, you go do it on your own, you rock your podcast, we wish you the best of luck. Or if you want support, video tutorials, resources, recommendations, where do you get your artwork, where do you get your intro and outro, like all these other things, to your point, Julia, that come with a podcast, we have all of it for you.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
it's
Do you help them with the
Paradise.
writing too? Because I know that's a big part. You know, people don't realize there's a lot of writing involved and copy, right? In podcasts,
Right.
show notes, the social media posts.
Yep.
Help
We've
with all of that.
got video tutorials on all of it.
Love it. Well, this is really cool. Let's just press pause here so people can understand what they did. Is that Kate and John decided we're going to create this very high value free course that thousands of people may take, maybe even millions, I don't know, but at least thousands. And then they probably did the math on like, okay, if just X percentage of them wants to go to the next step, right, of taking the master class, which you also made free. So that's interesting because a lot of people do free to paid. But you did free to free, although a long free to a short free, right? And then that then becomes, even fewer people. And this is now the funnel we're talking about. Not everyone's familiar with funnels, Kate. So I teach funnels in $1 Million Women Masterclass, my online business program. It's literally just looks like a funnel, just like you would, pour something into in your kitchen. And the top part is like the thousands or millions of people who find you. And then you're gently moving them down into a smaller and smaller group. And the bottom of the funnel is the people who are buying from you. Now they may buy things along the way, but the biggest ticket items are at the bottom. That's why, it gets skinnier, right? You don't only need a few thousand people to pay you, let's say $5,000 to $10,000 to have a really healthy 7-figure business. So that's
Exactly.
what Kate and John have figured out how to do. And if they're top of funnel, they've got, I'm sure you do tons of social media, advertising, right? To get people in that top. How do you get them into the top?
The podcast.
The podcast. That's how people find you. They listen to the podcast. Got it. And they say, hey, I want to do my own podcast. I'm sure John makes announcements during the podcast, right? And then they come in and then you're pulling them down the funnel with like this free class, this other little free class. And then boom, what? They set up a call with you, or how do you then move them down?
So on the masterclass, they're invited to join Podcasters Paradise, so they can join directly that way. If they have questions about it, we have a form that they can fill out where we'll answer any questions that they have about joining. And then the next step is to join. And so the podcast is one of the traffic generators. We also have a ton of content on our blog that talks about podcasting. And so we talk about our free offerings in that content. So also content marketing is a big one for us. We actually do 0 paid advertising.
That is so cool. That's great to know.
Yeah. So it's been very organic for us because of all the content that we put out there.
And I'd love to ask you, because we have so many women who are just now building their first funnels or have funnels that they're trying to tweak. What advice would you give to someone who's just now starting on this journey? I mean, you've spent 8 years building up this beautiful machine, and kudos, and it's fantastic. And you're also helping thousands of people while doing it. So I love that. But what advice would you give to someone who's like, okay, I got my marketing software, I'm going to make a webinar. Like where do you send people? I'm sure people ask you this all the time.
Yeah, well, focus on one. Don't try and build multiple funnels at the same time, which so many people do. It blows my mind. So focus on one and don't try and make it perfect. Back to the beginning of our conversation. Like it's not going to be perfect the first time. It's not going to be perfect the 10th time, but you iterate and you constantly improve and you make tweaks. And you track these metrics and really know like what's moving the needle, where are people coming from, what gets them to the next step, like what type of people are buying, what type of people are making it to the end of your funnel and actually converting and reaching that goal. So there's so much that goes into getting it out there as quickly as possible.
Yes,
and then
I would say a good
along
parallel for someone who's never done a funnel is a website, right? You need to get it live. You're going to tweak it. You're going to change pages. You're going to hear what people liked and didn't like. What software that people should check out? Like in terms of first funnels, like whenever people, I use a very robust CRM. I'm sure you do too. But where could people go for like making their first funnels? What do you tell people?
ClickFunnels is great. We use ClickFunnels. We love it. So ClickFunnels is a great software that allows you to do like drag and drop opt-in pages, thank you pages, video pages. Like you can set it all up in there. And then, start with like MailChimp or Aweber or ConvertKit as like your email client to actually get those emails out. I think with those two pieces of software, you'll be good to go.
I love that. And then you can just make your webinar in Zoom, right? It's like we don't have to get too crazy here at the beginning.
Absolutely.
Then you can build it up just like Kate did. I know we have to end, but even though I could talk to you for 5 hours. Oh wait, and there's my living room. Hang on.
Beautiful living room.
I'm trying to wave. Yeah, you showed me the beach, so here I'll show you the city.
Yeah.
We'll trade. So yeah, I'm looking out on New York City. And
oh my goodness.
It's like a beautiful day. Yeah, we've got the good weather too. It's awesome.
Oh wow, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I would come to the beach, so we should trade sometime.
Yes, I'd love it.
So yes, in conclusion, you've shared so many great things people can act on. Where can people find you if they want to learn from you and John?
Awesome. Everything we do is over at eofire.com.
eofire.com. And on social media, you're just like at eofire?
Well, I'm at Kate Erickson and John is at John Lee Dumas.
Awesome. And do people ever contact you wanting to hire you guys to help them build out funnels? Is that something that you've ever thought of?
We don't have an offering like that. But so I correct myself. We have a completely free course called Funnel on Fire that will teach you how to create a funnel that converts. So funnelonfire.com will take you through a completely free course. So that's kind of a cool thing to chat about super quick. That's another one of our funnels, but at the end, we use our affiliate link for ClickFunnels. So we don't have a paid offering for that. That funnel leads to ClickFunnels. So you don't have to build a funnel only for your own stuff. You can build funnels for other people's stuff that you're an affiliate for.
Oh, nice. Okay, so funnelonfire.com.
Funnelonfire.com.
Awesome.
I created that course. I walk you through every single step of creating your opt-in, creating the opt-in page. I walk through it in ClickFunnels. So I show you how to do it in ClickFunnels. And then we talk about like the paid offerings and the value ladder as Russell Brunson refers to it. And yeah, that's completely free. So funnelonfire.com.
That's great. I'm going to give one more recommendation. And we do have a little question. Do you have time to answer one question?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to recommend people read .com Secrets, DOTCOM Secrets by Russell Brunson. Great place to start in thinking about your funnel and attracting customers. And that is the question we got from one of our community members. She said, in the early days of your business, how did you market to find customers? Now, I know you said the podcast mainly attracted people, but did you do anything else that someone might replicate who's just now starting to build their first funnels and find their customers?
Yeah, so a big thing that we recommend now for kind of getting in front of your ideal client or customer is really intimately understanding exactly who they are. And in order to do that, we recommend joining other communities where you believe already your avatar is hanging out at. So as an example, if I'm looking for, people who are wanting to learn how to podcast, I would go to like Facebook or LinkedIn and I'd look for podcasting groups because I want to get in there and start engaging with them to see what questions they have, to see what their biggest
pain points are. Completely.
And so that is really amazing, like market research to understand who your avatar is. And then once you understand that, being able to start to create your content to directly serve those people. And if you become a valuable member of those communities and you're providing value, not asking for anything, not promoting yourself, any of that stuff, people will naturally become interested in what it is that you do and have to offer.
That's great advice. And so that could be a Facebook group. It could be joining a networking event and just seeing what people who are in your target group want. And the woman who asked runs a very cool company that helps women figure out how to repair things in their own homes. It's called Women Repair Zone.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Such a great company.
You know what? I have another tip for her too.
Oh, good. What's that?
A really great way is like, Julia, what we're doing right now, if you know other people who have platforms, podcasts, Instagram channels, like offer to do a live with them or ask to be a guest on their podcast or ask
Yes.
to do a guest post on their blog. Like start creating partnerships with people to where, if you can add value to their audience and you're getting in front of that audience, that's fantastic.
That's awesome. Yes. And I love that. And women are doing that. In fact, B, who asked the question, made a partnership with another woman in our community. So people are getting very creative. It's
Awesome.
terrific.
I
And
love
if
that.
people want to hear more success stories and what they can be doing, please join me today at 5. And you're welcome to join us too, Kate, 5
Yay.
Eastern, for a live webinar I'm teaching called Do What Works, How to End 2020 Strong, where we're featuring success stories from women within our own community so that you can do some of those things. And just like Kate shared all these amazing tips today, we're going to get more tips at 5. But Kate, thank you so much for taking the time.
You're so
It was such
welcome.
fun to have you on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Julie. And thanks to everyone tuning in or who's watching the replay. And wow, that sounds like an awesome webinar today. I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, feel free to join. And I know we'll see each other again, but have a beautiful day. And thanks for everything you're doing to help entrepreneurs succeed. And
Thanks,
say hey to John for me
Julia.
too.
Okay, ditto.
Bye,
Bye.
Kate. Thanks again. She had so many great tips, and we're getting a lot of questions at Million Dollar Women about creating funnels because, of course, now all marketing is online. It used to be there were other ways of reaching your customers, but now it's all online. And so a lot of women are building their first funnels right now. I'm going to do a quick Go Big tip. Hey, Rabia, and I'm so glad you all joined us. If it's your first time on CEO Check-In, we're here every week, Wednesday at 12 noon, doing live coaching and also bringing on guests like Kate who can help you to scale up your business. And my tip for today, my Go Big tip, thanks again, Kate, is to be a systems geek. Inspired by you, Kate. This was going to be the tip anyway. But my Go Big tip today is be a systems geek. Sometimes entrepreneurs start their businesses with so much excitement about their products and services and marketing, but they can sometimes neglect the systems. Well, Kate and I know that if you want to build a great funnel and be able to attract and keep customers, you have to be really focused on your systems, whether that is how your CRM, your customer relations management system, talks to your front-facing click funnels like we talked about, or how things are connected on the back end between, let's say, an ad you're running and how that data is getting into your database. There's a lot of that sort of geeky system stuff that you kind of have to fall in love with, because until you have that sorted out, it's going to be very hard to scale. And very quickly, you're going to realize the systems are going to let you down, and then it's going to become stressful. So my Go Big tip today is to be a systems geek in your business. Eventually, you can outsource it, but if you're looking to scale, take a look at those systems. Now is the perfect time, if things are a little slower for you, to say, hey, how scalable is this business right now? Am I in the middle of everything, or could I create some systems where it's more scalable? Hook up some APIs between some of the different softwares you're using, Google some best practices, talk to other entrepreneurs about what they're doing. And that is one of the things we help women with in the Million Dollar Women Masterclass. We have a class starting soon, so feel free to reach out to us. You can just go to scalewithjulia.com and sign up for a call, scalewithjulia.com. Great to have you with us today, and I'll see some of you at the webinar today at 5 p.m. Eastern, and hopefully many of you next week on CEO Check-In. Stay brave and go big. Bye-bye.